wiped out. I mean, historically, right now in the Amazon, when they reintroduce a new tribe, and they're almost done, I think there's only 1 or 2 left, it's understood that 70% of them will die. And the numbers in North America, you know, in the, say, in the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, we don't know what they are, but they're probably comparable to that, or maybe even more. Some of the estimates put it as high as 90, some put as low as, you know, 1 in 20, so surviving. So the theory goes that these epidemics wiped out essentially so many people that the loss of predation actually contributed to the buffalo herds. I've also heard that because it was such a staple, the natives had tried to propagate the proliferation by extending the habitat of the buffalo. You know, slash and burn, deforestation, whatever else. I don't know how true that is. I think it's hotly debated, so don't take that to the bank. But it's just another example of how what in our imagination we kind of think of as this continuity, this static historical setting, was actually quite dynamic. And I feel like that's probably always the case, where things are never static. We never are, until we reach absolute entropy. There's stuff changing and going on and developing. Now, it's also true that at certain time scales it might be difficult to notice, you know, day by day, year by year, you know, lifetime by lifetime if we go far enough back in history. You know, if we're talking about the Australopithecines or Homo habilis, it's not likely that they were having a lot of development from generation to generation. In fact, it would have been low enough development that very unlikely, had they had the ability to be conscious of such things, that they would have noticed a change. But I'd say, if not by the Neolithic Revolution, if not before the Neolithic Revolution, probably before then, the rate of change was such that you couldn't just take it for granted that things would stay the same forever. And by the Industrial Revolution, or probably even somewhat before, things were changing radically from decade to decade. And events like this are strange because they become like a snapshot, and then people project that image back. And so they almost imagine, you know, the Indians hunting buffalo on their horses, you know, back to the Ice Age, you know, and having, and the Lakota or the Cheyenne or whoever else. I mean, I said earlier, oh, they came from Minnesota or the Western Great Lakes. Well, but where did they come from before that? I highly doubt they were there for 10,000 years, and then, you know, they moved after in the wake of white civilization. I mean, they probably did move in the wake of white civilization, but the idea that they hadn't moved before, that they were static, seems rather unlikely. But, I mean, obviously, geological timescale, we have some erosion right here. Things don't stay the same forever, clearly. There's a lot of prairie dogs around here, too, coming in on the road. This is right off the highway. For anyone interested to come, it's very easy to find, it's well marked. It's $20 to get in, but not after 4:30, and I got here at 5, so free. I was worried that the the vengeful Indians would be controlling the access and that there'd be a large fee. But that wasn't the case. It's been expropriated by the federal government, or maybe it was purchased, I don't know. But it's just one of the parks, so we were going anywhere else. So this is the one marker that is dedicated to a native. It's much newer than the other markers. It's much nicer. Of course, made more nice by the fact that it's the only one that I've seen, or as there are presumably quite a few of the others. What does this say on it? It's actually named the man. Wasiku Sapa, black white man, A Minika Joe Lakota warrior fell here June 25th, 1876, while defending the Lakota way of life. Which way of life, by the way, included basically genociding their enemies. So it looks rather like the pictures that I'd seen, so I'm not surprised by that. Imagine this place gets quite busy around the anniversary. This is actually Easter, so we're both... I don't know when I'll upload this video, even if I will. But even though it's quite nice, it's early in the season. I don't think it's tourist season yet. It's still April. And on top of that, it is, like I said, Easter. Okay, they're supposed to have ranger talks here. I don't see... I always find the ranger talks are almost always pure propaganda. But I didn't hear this one firsthand, so I don't know. And I have to admit, I'm not an expert on this battle. So he could say stuff and I'd probably not know any better. It's quite warm. I was up in the Bighorn Mountains earlier in those snowy areas over there. Even there it's 40s or 50s. It's not really that cold. This is just unfortunate that they have these different sidewalks. Which ones to go to? Apparently they still do archaeological digs here. There's signs saying not to disturb things or remove artifacts. I feel like it would be difficult to find much without digging at this point. Anything left at the surface would have long washed away or eroded to nothing, but oh, this is where they go. Somehow, I'm hazy on the story here, so don't quote me on this, but Custer was led to this huge village. It's something like, I don't know, 20 miles long, I've heard. For 20,000 Indians, some huge number. Totally out of the experience of anyone's experience, and he kind of just charged and attacked it. And I think a lot of the debate is, did he know that, and was he just being stupid? Was he arrogant to the point where he didn't care that he was outnumbered, I don't know, what, 10 to 1, 100 to 1? Or was there some kind of miscommunication or something else? So this must be the original cemetery and probably why it's marked off like this. So apparently you don't do an obelisk if it's a defeat. They're only victory obelisks. Well, signs said there are rattlesnakes, but I haven't seen any. Huh. So this is where you go to die. Ooh. George Custer, Lieutenant Colonel. He was last in his class in West Point. I think he was in the last class before the start of the Civil War too, like class of 61. Oh. You can now do Wi-Fi and digital. All right, I'll walk back to my car.
All right, thanks.
Tyrannical statist. Jesus Christ. Public lands, bitch. I own this place. Danger. Rattlesnakes. Oh, bones. Nice. Lakota and Cheyenne removed their dead, buried them in lodges, scaffolds, and hillsides. 7th Cavalry came out to the site, hastily buried them on June 28th, so what, 2-3 days later? Custers buried at West Point. Oh, that's just false advertising. Don't tread on me. Oh, look at this. We got the prayer. So the Native Americans do these prayer things. Hang them up. Their heathen ways. So there's no bodies at those grave sites. Those were buried up here, except for the officers who were taken back east. Go check out over here before that bitch comes back. Also, if you've never traveled out west, the Great Plains are really quite stunning, and when you cross over into the front range of the Rockies, it really is something. And I would recommend at least once driving it. You don't get the context when you fly. You know, what's this? This is probably about the ecosystem. Let's see if I'm right. Nope. Oh, memorial for the horses. So is this the castle that the Indians built? The fuck? I went to Fort Kearney earlier today, and they had these. Actually, I hadn't even thought about coming here, but the Fort Kearney, I didn't know the history until I went. By the way, Fort Kearney's pretty shitty, so don't ever go there unless you're gonna go out of your way. Oh, here are more of these. Hapa-ona, closed hand. Yeah, he died here. All right. But that was the end of the Bozeman Trail apparently, and there was a famous massacre there. Called a company of soldiers called the Fetterman Detachment a couple years before this in 1867. And I was wondering, actually, my first thought of the Little Bighorn today was, Why is that event basically not very well known to the general public, but Custer's Last Stand is? And answer is, I don't know. Speculate, I guess. So holy cow, look at this. This is written in Cheyenne. Alright. So this is much newer. So there's no bad guys in this battle. Everyone's to be honored. It's just a big misunderstanding. These are the types of illustrations the Indians make, some of them. Oh, they have the names of all the warriors. Duckbelly, Pemmican, Moving Robe Woman, Don't Pace His Face, Kill the Married, Eat on the Beef, and we got the silhouettes to frighten us. So I'm going to guess this memorial is not in the typical native design, but I'm not an anthropologist, so I can't say for sure. Wow. Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the most famous battle of the Indian Wars of the American West. Famous, infamous story people never get told of retelling and telling and telling and telling and telling. Unless you're my friend who has no idea that it even happened. You have to wonder if that in any way affects his understanding of the world. And I as much as I'm aghast that he was ignorant, I have a hard time saying that it actually does inhibit his understanding of the world in any quantifiable way. But whatever. I'm still going to give him shit about it. Indian Memorial, 1991. So paid for by Kevin Costner, probably. And for context, that's when I became interested in this. Was right when the politically correct tide was at its strongest. When we're talking about history, anyway. I think we're talking about like a lot of other things. It's ebbing right now, but you see something like Dances with Wolves or 500 Nations, the quote-unquote documentary. I wouldn't call that revisionist, but just explicitly and intentionally biased. And there's, in a way, that's fair. For how much of the history before that was pure hagiography, where we're just lionizing, our side and villainizing the other side to the point of caricature. And I don't know how much of that was done by serious historians, but it's certainly within popular culture that's how it was viewed. And to have a countervailing force the opposite direction isn't necessarily bad, but if it starts to, I think that the bias should be admitted and then corrected for. So there's like a gas station and a hotel. They advertise Native American tacos. Not exactly sure what those are. It's probably the same kind of way as Arby's calling gyros Mediterranean tacos. Just the flip side of this getting here for free is that they're going to close and kick you out. Archaeologists. Ooh, they found some gun. 7th Cavalry arm bone. Fired .45 cartridge. Wow, so they did this archaeology after a fire burned everything. How opportunistic. Wow. Cool. But now it's time to head back to Gillette, so. I don't know if I'll upload this or not, but if I do, everyone have a great day. Tell me what you think.